We are living in Cebu City, Philippines for 2 weeks, and in this video we will show you how much money we are spending on accommodation, food, transportation, and SIM cards with data. I will also take you to a shopping mall to see the prices at the big modern supermarket and show you what else can you find in the malls in the Philippines. We are Olga and Renee. After living in Turkey for a year, we are now exploring countries in Southeast Asia to see if we can make one of them our home. So far we've been to Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, and now Philippines. Soon we will be posting videos with comparisons for all these countries. To travel to Philippines right now in 2023, you need either a vaccination certificate or a test made within 24 hours before your flight. Plus, you will need to register at this website and get a QR code at most 3 days before arrival. We are staying at the hotel in the center of Cebu City and we have it with breakfast. To have breakfast included, we are paying 300 pesos each for 1 day. There's a continental breakfast which includes bread, buns, pancakes, jams, cereals with milk. You can also have fresh salad, and there is variety of local dishes like rice, even pasta. There was on that day also you have local dishes with chicken, with meat, with fish, and of course with pork, as well as sausages. There is tropical fruit every day. And on some days there were almost no people there, but on others it was quite full. And the local dishes would change every day. We were happy with that breakfast, so we paid for it for every single day. Our breakfast did include coffee, of course, but if we wanted to go out for coffee later, around the area where we stayed, there were quite some coffee shops. They were really cute and modern, and there you can have a coffee for this price. And a bit further we could go to a big mall, Ayala Mall, and there in the coffee shop you could get yourself a coffee and a sandwich for this money. For lunch, let's go to another big mall. It's called SM City. And for those of you who didn't travel to Southeast Asia and have never been in their big cities, you must know that all life, so to say, all of the activities are always within the malls. And the main benefit of the mall, of course, is that it's nice and air conditioning inside. And outside it can get quite hot and humid during the day, especially in the middle of the day where it's sunshine. So both locals and foreigners spend a lot of time in these malls, but they are very big and you actually can spend hours just walking around there. And of course, food courts are one of the best places to have a quick bite. And in this mall in SM City, you can find both local meals and Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Western food options, of course. And at the food court you can see the food right in front of your eyes before you order. And you can see there is a variety of meats, famous lechon, which is pig meat, also fish, all kinds of seafood, as well as soups and side dishes. And this particular mall is very budget friendly, and the food court area was very busy when we were there, and I think it was Saturday, that's why it was extra busy. And I must say, sometimes when you have so many choices, it gets a bit hard to choose what you want, so you do get lost a little bit. But I'm sure if you spend more time here, you can learn what are your favorites among the local dishes. So what I have is prawns, sauce, rice and soup. And Renee doesn't have much, but paid the same money. Chicken and some spring rolls. I like the soup. And overall it reminded me of Turkish lokantas, buffet style cafes. Buffet basically. Really like lokanta, similar price, similar choice of food. Well, not the same, of course, but kind of like home cooked buffet style. I also really wanted to try the famous Hello Hello dessert, and for that we went to Monk Inasal, one of the chain restaurants. It was really busy there, so it must be one of the locals' favorites. And this dessert is basically crushed ice with some ice cream and jello and pudding. I would say I really liked it, and this one I would definitely miss when I'm not in Philippines anymore. Another popular area in Cebu City is IT Park, and there are many condos, business buildings, and of course shopping malls and restaurants. We went for another food court, and there we tried Korean food. And I must say, in Cebu you can find almost any kind of food that you want, be it Western food or fast food like burgers, pizza, or all kinds of Asian food. They have Vietnamese restaurants, many Korean restaurants, Japanese restaurants, of course Filipino food. So basically you can satisfy any craving that you have. For example, if you don't only want to eat at the food court, but you want to go out to a nice restaurant. One time we chose to go to this ramen restaurant, and prices there are of course a bit higher than at the food court, but still they are not too high in a restaurant like this. So we tried their ramen and it was quite tasty, and Renee went for the chicken curry. At Ayala Mall, we also found a Mexican restaurant. Renee tried their taco or tortilla, and I went for a more simpler meal, mashed potato and chicken salad. And that particular mall we did like a lot and went there multiple times, and inside of it they even had this beautiful garden. But now let's check out the supermarket that I told you about in the beginning. It is really a huge one, and there you can find anything you want, and they have a big international section which we will take a closer look later. And for now let me show you the huge fruit and vegetable section. Really, when I went there I was really surprised to see how much of a variety of fruits and vegetables you see here. And of course local tropical fruit is very inexpensive compared to the prices that we have in the West. All kinds of vegetables. If you have never tried okra, I really recommend that you try it once you're here in Asia. It's also popular in the eastern countries. And of course they have a section with berries that are more expensive because they are imported. Now let's see the meat, chicken and fish section, and again it's very big and you can basically get everything and anything you want. The prices are quite affordable. You can even buy meat that's already been done with the sauce or the skewers, so that would make cooking really easy. And as you can see, the section is very long and you can get yourself any piece of meat that you want. Chicken, of course, all kinds of it, from the whole chicken to marinated chicken or any kind of chicken parts. And the fish section in this supermarket wasn't the biggest that I've seen in Southeast Asia, but it was quite decent. Right next to it there was an ice cream section, and if I see how many types of ice cream there is, I would assume that in the Philippines it's really popular, even the Halo Halo ice cream. In this supermarket, you can also find a variety of butter and cheese. And this one is the cheaper version, but it's not a real butter, it's more like a vegetable oil butter. But if you want to go for the real one, it will be slightly expensive. Of course, especially the imported one, but the local version is cheaper. You can get your cream cheese that you are used to in the West and all kinds of European cheeses. And I must say that not every supermarket in Cebu has this variety of cheeses, this variety of imported products. For example, we have another supermarket closer to our hotel and it's still quite big, but there they have almost none of these cheeses and they don't have this butter, for example, and the section with fruit and vegetables is smaller. And for every day, I think that supermarket is still very good. Especially when you need an imported product, I would really recommend going to the Metro supermarket. There they also have a very big alcohol section, and we were surprised how inexpensive alcohol is in the Philippines, especially now that we just came from Malaysia. And there it's a Muslim country, so naturally alcohol there has a very high tax, so it is quite pricey. But in the Philippines it's quite noticeably cheaper. Although, for example, for the beer, I would say they have less variety, so it's basically Tiger and San Miguel, but the prices are almost as cheap as in Vietnam. Although, yes, Vietnam probably because they have their own breweries, and Vietnamese beer is the cheapest out of what we saw around Southeast Asia. And they have all kinds of imported Western alcohol and wines, of course. And the local alcohol, of course, will be the most inexpensive. And again, we see a big variety of noodles. The cheapest noodles that I saw were only 11.5. But if you are craving pasta, you can also get it here for quite an affordable price. There was a small section where you could buy fresh salad, fruit and vegetables. And now we see that big international section, and international means all kinds of Asian and Western food. So for example, all kinds of Chinese sauces, Thai sauces, Vietnamese food, Western food, for example, Cheerios for breakfast if you are craving them. Big selection of cakes, and they were surprisingly affordable. And here a big selection of breakfast cereals and flakes, as well as oats. So if you're craving a Western type of breakfast, here you can absolutely surely find it. Good selection of lactose-free milk and of course coffee. The selection of chocolates, we found it to be not the biggest selection, so it's probably not as popular here, but it is still quite a decent amount of choices. And by this time I already filmed so much in this supermarket, it was so huge that my battery was running out, but I still captured a bit that it has also things for personal hygiene, shampoos, health and beauty section, all for a very affordable price. And as you can see, the supermarket is very popular, it has big queues, but if you just walk all the way to the right, you can see that they have a fast lane where if you have less than 10 items, you can use that lane, although you will have to pay cash there. To get around the city, we used Grab or just hailed one of the taxis from the street. And ordering a taxi from Grab was actually about double the price from a regular taxi that goes by the meter. For example, a 1.4-kilometer drive, which was from our hotel to the mall, with a taxi cost us 65 pesos, and with a Grab taxi, the same ride would be between 110 or 125 pesos. So it's not that big of a difference if you're only going for a short ride, but for example, from the hotel to the airport, it might be a much bigger difference. And what about apartments and hotels in Cebu City? We stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks, and a bit later I will explain you why we didn't get a condo. I would say that two main areas to stay in Cebu City is around the big Ayala Mall or IT Park. We were staying approximately in between those areas, and including breakfast, it was 2,250 pesos per day for a big room. And we did have quite a nice and modern room with good bathroom and comfortable chair, but the disadvantage of it is that the windows, they are actually going to the wall, so during the day we would not get any daylight. And of course, during those 2 weeks we were not outside in the city all day long, so there were days where we didn't feel so good or we just wanted to stay in and work on a video. So being in a room without any sunlight, as you can imagine, is not that great for your mental state. So somewhere in the middle we moved into another room that was 500 pesos a day more expensive, but it did give us a big window and enough sunlight and actually more space. So why did we go for a hotel and didn't just rent a condo on Airbnb like we usually do when we stay in one place for longer than a week? Well, actually, we did go for an Airbnb and we had it booked before we came to Cebu. But unfortunately, once we arrived, we saw that the condo is really tiny and it is probably the size of the room that we have in our hotel now. And in that tiny space, there was everything: the bedroom, the small couch, the table, and the mini kitchen. But it wasn't even the size that surprised us, but that we saw 3 cockroaches and the strong smell of the cockroach bug spray. And I didn't even make any videos in that condo because we were tired from the flight, and we just found a hotel nearby and just left that condo right away. Luckily for us, Airbnb refunded us the next day when we made a complaint about the big cockroaches and the smell. And we did try to find another condo because 2 weeks in a hotel seemed like a bit too long. But what we did see is that most of the Airbnbs, they are truly overpriced. So for example, even that tiny condo, it was already above 300 euro for only 2 weeks, which is, if I compare it to Vietnam, for example, this would pay for almost a month. And it's not just that condo that we rented, it's the situation with all other condos, especially when you book them this close before you check in. So basically, for almost the same price as in the hotel, all the condos that we saw, they were quite small and they were not the most modern. And when we were reading through the comments, almost every condo had something about the cockroaches. So we thought if we are going to be spending more money, we might as well stay in a hotel where if something happens, they would just immediately check us into another room. While in that condo, the only thing the owner could do is to send someone the next day. But that's the situation with Airbnbs, and of course, if you are renting long-term on a local website, the prices will be much lower. For example, rental prices for apartments, they range from 10,000 pesos per month up to 100,000 pesos per month, so you can find both on the low end and on the high end. But of course, on the low end, they will not be as conveniently situated within the city, and they might be in a very local area where to get to the IT Park or Ayala Mall, you would spend quite a lot of time on a public transport. So the closer you are to the prime area, the more expensive it is. And especially if you're on a budget and you can find something for like $200 a month, But be ready, be prepared that it will be really tiny, only for one person, and there might be still problem with cockroaches, especially if it's an older building. To be fair, it is quite normal for a tropical island, and we had a cockroach like this, for example, on Phuket too. So as you can see, this is the local website, and here something comfortable you can get for 37,000 pesos. It won't be in the IT park itself, but it's really close. Or you can go for a more spacious 2-bedroom for 140,000 pesos, but that won't be much cheaper than in the West. Of course, you have to check the area, and I already named the most popular ones. But if you are staying here for several months or a year, you probably should come here yourself and see for yourself. Start with the IT park and Ayala malls and see if that's the area that you would like to live in. But from a quick look, I would say that you will definitely be able to find something comfortable and modern in a reasonably good area for the price of 4 to 500 US dollars per month. That would be my average budget for an apartment for 2 people, but for 1 person you can probably choose a more modest apartment, and of course if you have a family you would need something bigger. So what about the Wi-Fi and the SIM cards? And if you're working online, for example, or you're like me uploading videos to YouTube, you probably do worry about the quality of the Wi-Fi at home. And on Airbnb, I read that some of the condos do have good Wi-Fi, but our experience with hotels is that it's just almost non-existent. It is available for a little bit during the day and not very fast. And we do have to use the data, the phone, but even the phone data is not working very good. But I did see that in coffee shops, for example, the Wi-Fi can have quite a good speed, so there it's definitely possible to do some work if you need to. I'm not sure about uploading big files like videos for YouTube. We did it once overnight when the Wi-Fi in the hotel was working. And to buy a SIM card, it's probably the easiest at the airport, although we did it in the city. We went into 7-Eleven and asked for the SIM cards. It was 50 pesos for one card, and you can also buy load packages for 100 pesos each. And once you load that money on your card, you will be able to buy an internet package from the app. So that is not the most straightforward, but it's not too hard to figure it out. And if you're going for convenience and buying a SIM card at the airport, then there, for example, you can buy for 500 pesos. It will be valid 15 days and will give you 20 gigabyte of data. So now let's finally go and see what the shopping mall has to offer. And in Cebu City, we were quite impressed with the Ayala Mall. It is big, nice and fancy. It has European brands of clothing, of course, as well as Asian. One of my personal favorites is the Uniqlo brand. It's a Japanese one. It has quite good quality basic clothes. It is not a premium brand, but the prices there are also not the lowest, and the quality is quite reliable. So if you don't have that brand back home, I would really recommend checking it out in the Philippines. And the popular Western brand like Levi's or Bershka, the more inexpensive one, Pull & Bear and Zara, H&M, all of that is available at the mall. But if you're tired of walking through the cold air-conditioned mall, then you can go to the beautiful inner garden. I would say that's one of the highlights of the Ayala Mall. And you can see there is more construction going on, more condos will be available soon for rent. And of course the food options in Ayala Mall, they seem like endless. There are Western brands like McDonald's and Burger King and TGI Fridays. and the local brands like Jollibee, Chowking, and Shakey's. I also found a cute shop with souvenirs there where you can get a t-shirt or a bag to remember your trip to Cebu. And if you're planning your trip to Philippines, make sure that you watch our previous video. There we share all the costs of the trip to Palawan, to El Nido and Port Barton, as well as sharing a story how we got threatened by a machete.